Hey, folks. Welcome, welcome. All right. So we are going to be, welcome to Fuzzy Angel Portrait Studio. We're going to be live today, just putting together um, some video to share with you later on, as well as live. And this is my pet Molly, and we're going to work on her painting today. Um, she is going to be on a 9 by 12 canvas panel, and she is going to get her first. I've already started the rough sketch, and she'll get a first treatment. And I'll just talk through the painting as I go, just to give you a sense of my process. And let me know in the comments if you have any questions or any comments in general, and I can look back after the video and follow up with you if you're interested in a pet portrait. All right, so without any further delay, I will go off camera, change over to zooming in. You won't see me on the camera as um, you may have figured out. So I'm going to zoom in on the canvas itself, and then you can watch along, and I'll just talk through my process. Okay, so I'll go off camera for a few seconds and be right with you. Okay, great. So we should be back on now. So here we have my girl Molly, my fuzzy angel. Hope everybody's doing good out there on a beautiful snowy day. Okay, so this portrait is going to be a 9 by 12, and she will be part of my displays for my craft shows coming up. My upcoming schedule is on my website at fuzzyangelportraits.com. So to start off, I usually go right into the eye area, and oh, I forgot one step. Let me back up a little bit. Rewind. I like to take a little bit of turpentine and just go along all of these areas that have charcoal on them and just kind of dab a little bit of that on there, just so I can have the paint kind of not competing with all of this charcoal. But it does help me draw it out first to get a sense of where I'm placing everything for her face and structure. Here we go. So as I was saying, this is going to be part of my personal collection, but I do sample paintings at my craft shows, and there's on my website at fuzzyangelportraits.com, there's a page I created with all of my craft show schedule coming up this summer and spring. So check that out if you have time, and she will be part of my collection for people to see in the reel at those shows. And I usually do a painting at those shows too. So that's a nice way to see the process if you're thinking about getting a portrait and don't know where or how it works. This is how we do it. It's all commission based. It's oil paint, so you want to plan ahead because it does take time for oil paint to dry, and I do work in several layers, so this is first layer. Okay, so now I've dabbed all of my areas that are charcoal. And now I can go back in and start on her eyes and just kind of develop the shape of the eye area. So here we go. There we go. Molly, Molly. Molly is a senior. She was adopted in '07, and she was brought to the States as a Sato, or rescue, from Puerto Rico. She was fostered in New Hampshire, where I lived at the time. And thankfully she was, because it really helped us at the time kind of profile what would work for our setting. So I give a huge props to people who do foster care. And I'm currently campaigning for people that are interested or work with different organizations locally that need fundraisers for organizations that are for fostering or for rescue pets. So reach out to me and I will be glad to donate a gift certificate for any fundraisers coming up. And that's a nice way to connect with me. And so Molly has been with me for 15 years. Excuse me. And I thought I needed an updated portrait of her. I have a few studies I've done of her in the past, but this would be a nice way to show everybody my portrait process and get a painting of my fuzzy angel. And like I said in the beginning of the video, if you missed it, just leave me a comment and I can follow up with you after if you're interested or have questions about maybe getting your own or giving a gift to somebody. I am currently gearing up for Mother's Day, which is not until May, but since these paintings are oil, they do take a few weeks to make. So like 2 to 3 week average. If they're larger sizes like this 9x12, it could take up to 4 weeks. So just keep that in mind if you're thinking about a gift for mom or grandmom or somebody special in your family that is a pet lover and could benefit from having a portrait of their fuzzy angel. I love this photo, but it is a little bit challenging with the angle of her face, so it kind of goes to her personality because she's not challenging, but she is a strong-willed young energy for sure. But I love her. I love everything about her. All of our pets have unique quirks and personalities, and hopefully my paintings will evoke some of that energy. Okay, so those are the eyes kind of established right now. I'm not going to go too much further with them at this time. I'm going to transition over to the nose area. You can start developing some shapes on there and some highlights. So I live in Cape Nettuck, Maine, and I work from my home. And if you follow my social media pages, sometimes I post behind the scenes prepping before I do my videos like I did today. But we had such a huge amount of snow dump yesterday. It was a lot. I guess the news said Cape Nettuck was the jackpot area for Maine. We got about a foot. And it's beautiful, but it's a lot. After we just had like a 70-degree day 2 days ago, it's been quite interesting around here. There she comes. So this first stage is just a really thin layer of paint. I use oil paint just because I love to mix on the canvas and allow it to push around a little bit as I evolve. My process is kind of intuitive. I just kind of move around the canvas as I paint, and so I like the paint to stay a little bit slippery versus some people use acrylic paint, which is awesome, but it dries very fast, and I prefer the paint to stay a little wet while I'm in a session with a portrait. But as we move closer to the spring and holidays come up like Mother's Day or Father's Day, just reach out and let me know if you have a photo you want to email. You can see more of my contact information on social media, or you can email it at fuzzyangelportraits@gmail.com. So, black dogs are interesting to paint because they have a lot of highlights, and I prefer a photo from, like this one is natural lighting, and if you look at the photo you can see all these little nuances of actually blues and auburns and highlights that are really fun to pick up, and you start to see shapes versus like a silhouette. If it's like lighting that is artificial, sometimes that with darker fur, sometimes that doesn't give the little subtle nuances that make the pet painting very personality-wise coming out. It sort of distorts the fur and the shapes on the face a little bit. So I always encourage people to use natural light to try to get your photos of darker fur. Types of animals. But on my website, the Fuzzy Angel Portraits website, you can see a lot of commissions I've done recently, and some of them are of different color fur, so you can get a sense of how it translates into a painting. Okay, so that's a good kind of base for her face. Now I'm going to just take a different size brush, a little bit bigger, and start blocking in some of her areas of, just to kind of, what do I want to say, just to make it a little bit less detail brush strokes. The smaller brush is great for the eyes and the nose, but I like a larger brush for some of the bigger sections of, like her ear has a lot of real estate here of a darker tone, and this just allows me to block it in. In the first stage, I'm not too worried about detail. The second, third stage, that's why it takes about a week to do each painting. I start to get into more of like the little fur wispies like that, and little whiskers, highlights in the eye area. It starts to really come alive. So each stage has its own kind of life to it, which makes oil painting so much fun. It really is truly like the Bob Ross Happy Little Accidents. You sort of just let it come to life as you go forward, adding color and pushing the paint around. I'm deliberately using a little bit of blue just for that undertone, because that will show as I'm starting to push the paint through. And the photo actually has a little bit of a bluish tint in some of her highlights, which is cool. So this stage might look a little rainbowy, but it will tone down as we develop some of the layers. And let me know in the comments if you have any questions. I can certainly follow up after the video. Usually the video will post on my page after, my Facebook page, and then I'm also developing my YouTube channel. I have some content that I'm working on. It's still a work in progress, of course, because that takes a long time to develop the videos, but it's a really fun medium to reach out and put some content online for people to see what I do and hopefully find value in it. Yeah, there she comes. She's coming along. So I'm seeing like almost warm, kind of auburny tones here, which again, I will go back in and adjust as her fur starts to layer. Yeah. So far, my first show coming up, I just confirmed, which I will update my calendar on my website so you can refer back to that. I had it, I was waitlisted for it, and it's been confirmed. I just have to connect today and tomorrow and just follow up. But it's in Windham, New Hampshire, and it's at the high school. I've been there before, so if any of you are fans on my page and have stopped by my booth, I will be there this April. So if you haven't been to that craft show, it's really well done. There's a lot of really quality vendors there and a lot of handmade items. And I just love doing them because I can actually meet people face to face and stop by my booth, because every craft show that I do, I offer a gift certificate towards a portrait. So it's a giveaway. There's no purchase. You just have to stop by and say hey and fill out a little ticket and drop it in the little bucket, and then I email you after the show and let people know who won. And that usually will add people to my email list if they choose to. There's a space on the ticket to add to my email list, and that way you can stay in the loop if I have any like specific kind of updates to where I'm going to be, or sales, specials, just general like keeping in the loop of what's going on. And then down the road, another show I just confirmed for is York Days in August. So that's a ways out, but I'm excited about that one. It's a 2-day event here in York. So I'll be at that event each day, both days. Again, stop by, show me your pets. I love to look at photos of pets. I'll be painting a portrait live at that show, and just generally meeting people to show them how to get a portrait done. It's all commission based, as I said in the beginning, which means you first provide the photo. So emailing a photo is stage one, and this is all written under pricing and sizes on the link on my webpage. And then after we collaborate together on which photo, because I like to see several photos, definitely a high quality will help me translate the personality of the pet coming through on the canvas. So that's why we kind of do that stage first, just to make sure that everything is going to work for my style of painting. Anything kind of blurry or not able to make out little details like the fur and stuff like that, I usually don't, I'm just not able to successfully have the portrait come to life on the canvas if I don't have all the info on the photo. So after the photo is decided on, then we go forward with a deposit. And then the deposit goes towards the balance. So it's after the photo or the painting is done, then I will send you an email and you can review the painting, and we can, at that time, sometimes there's edits that need to be made, and that's totally normal because I don't have the pet in front of me. I just have a photo, so sometimes we need to just make a few tweaks or adjustments. And then after you approve your portrait, balance due, and I can ship it out to you. I do offer frames. You can see that also on my website at fuzzyangelportraits.com. Yeah, she is looking good. So at this stage, I'll just transition over to making her scarf, kind of just some really rough shapes. I don't get too much detail into like those types of areas, but I do find them very fun in a portrait. I mean, this is something that is Molly for sure. This little scarf. So I do encourage those type of items into the painting because it gives it a little bit more personality, as well as, you know, you want it to be something, it's a keepsake. Like Molly's a senior, she's still with us, but this will be a nice portrait to have after she's made her transition and over the Rainbow Bridge. So it's nice to start thinking about having something like that before, or I do a lot of memorial pieces for people too, because it either makes a nice thoughtful gift, and I do call it fuzzy angels because they are angels and they do heal our hearts. So hopefully a portrait will help preserve some of that healing that they provide us as humans. Humans need something to level out their tendencies and energy. And I think the pets come into our lives for those reasons. Yeah. So this will be just a kind of a base for her scarf, and then I'll go back in and add a few details once it dries in a couple of days. All right. The background is the next phase. So with the background, I tend to just paint in a solid color. Unless it's a special request, I do consider whatever is going to enhance and make the portrait make sense to you as the pet owner or for the person you're giving it to in context. So it's very much a collaboration, which is awesome. But this just gives you a sense of like the starting areas. And I just love doing them so people have that, like I said, preservation of your fur babies. So the next phase will be the background. And she does have a little bit of pink showing in her ear area up here. So as you can see, these areas I don't get too detailed, I just kind of suggest. Oops, that's a little too bright. But that's okay, we can just, too red. That's the thing with oil, you can just wipe it out and paint over. It's a little bit more forgiving than some other mediums. At least for me, I find it to be very forgiving that way. Okay. Definitely will be revisiting her nose area and pulling out some of those really strong highlights in her photo I can see, and then adding some details to like her whiskers and the little pieces of fur under her chin. But now that it's wet paint, I don't want to get too much into those areas because it'll smear the underpainting, which is got some areas that will show through as I develop the next layer. Okay, so I'm just mixing the background color and I'm going to add that next. Yeah. And leave any kind of comments or reach out, message me photos of your fur babies, or if you have a friend in need or a family member who you think you might want to purchase one for. I am taking commissions now for 2022. It's good to get in early for Mother's Day. I know it's a ways off, but it does help me to get it done in time prior to anything last minute. If it is a last minute, I started to offer gift cards because that's an easy way to collaborate with your loved one on a portrait, or have them collaborate directly with me on which photo they want to see developed into a portrait. So that's another option to consider if you're stuck on, you know what, I can't find a photo of my friend or relative's pet and I'm frustrated, but I really, really know that this painting would help them because they just lost their cat or their dog or their horse or something. So don't despair. You have a path forward, or just reach out to me and I can help you figure out a way to provide that kind of gift for someone, because it is really important, in my opinion, and in my philosophy, to have something of your pets. So that's why I do them. So this again is a very rough sketch of Molly, and I'm liking the bone. This is like the bones of the direction of the portrait, so this gives me a starting jumping off point, and after it dries I'll go back in and develop some of these little detail areas and the scarf, and I will post progress of this painting on my social media pages, so please feel free to share and like them, and that way you can see it go through the various stages from now start to finish. Great. So again, reach out if you would like a portrait, but that's the first stage of Molly, and I appreciate you guys all watching. Have a great afternoon, and I look forward to helping you with a pet portrait. Hey, just a quick note to say thank you for watching. If you'd like to learn more about how to get your own Fuzzy Angel portrait, please visit my website at fuzzyangelportraits.com. Thanks again.